finalizing the specs of the project.
December. And half of it's gone right now. So that's my weekend working on. It's like my driveway on the road, so I feel kind of bad, but I'm not going to get it until this weekend. See that happening. Oh wait, I work this weekend. Maybe I won't get this weekend. Oh, we'll see. Right. Yeah, no, that was I'll put the inquiry in the frame.
It's the new way.
That's your performance evaluation. Just kidding.
You got it back here?
No.
You haven't got that thing figured out yet?
I don't like this one. I know.
Time to go. Welcome to the November 1, 2022 regular meeting of the Township Board for the Charter Township of Meridian. If you will, stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 on our agenda is a roll call. Tonight, presented to us by our clerk.
Thank you. Supervisor Jackson?
Here.
Clerk Guthrie is here. Treasurer DeShane?
Here.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Here.
Trustee Sunland?
Here.
Trustee Wilson?
Here.
Trustee Wazinski?
Here.
All board members are present.
Thank you. Tonight we have a presentation to two members of our community. I'll ask Trustee Wazinski to join me at the podium. Two members of our community who have worked tirelessly and awards them and recognizes them and awards them as Volunteers of the Year. So our first award tonight goes to Mr. John Sarver, and Trustee Wazinski will present that to him.
I'm excited. Leroy wanted to be here, but he had other obligations, so. Congratulations, John, on receiving this well-deserved Meridian Township Volunteer of the Year Award. You think you don't deserve it, but we all know you do. So, John served on multiple boards and commissions. He has been a member, this is the one I didn't know, member of the Environmental Commission since 2014, and served multiple times as chair. I know at least two, right? John also helped lead the Michigan Energy Team for 12 years and regularly attends Green Dialogues. John's also responsible for bringing two innovative projects, environmentally friendly projects, to Michigan: Solarize Meridian and the Green Neighbors Network. So both of those are doing well, aren't they?
Yes.
I think Leroy said it best, and this is what he had sent in an email to me. He is highly respected as a kind, thoughtful, creative, and wise volunteer, trusted friend and colleague, and excellent listener. So thank you for your continued service, Meridian Township. Look forward to being on the Environmental Commission at least 2 more years.
I think this is the right one. This is the right one.
There you are.
Thank you. Can I say a few words?
Please.
Oh, okay. Gee, I'd like to thank the board for this honor, which was a surprise to me, and I really do appreciate it. The board has been so supportive of the climate sustainability plan and the solar installations. It's, I think, been an inspiration, certainly, to the energy team and the Environmental Commission. And, I have to admit, too, that it's a pleasure serving with the township staff and with the other volunteers. And as I think you all know, the township has a tremendous cadre of volunteers. I mean, I don't even know how you can select a volunteer of the year because there's so many good folks out there. And gee, I guess the last thing I'll say is those cookies were very good. Thank you for the cookies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our second honoree tonight is Ms. Joyce Vancouvering. Would you join me? Sure. So Joyce has been around a long time. In fact, Joyce even worked with me on the Planning Commission many years ago.
You're a lot smarter than I was.
Well, that was then. But in addition, Joyce has served Meridian Township on its pension board, its Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and the Transportation Commission. You are apparently tireless, and so for that, we would like to thank you and offer you the certificate of appreciation for your hard work and your commitment.
Thank you, Supervisor Jackson. Appreciate it. Just a couple words. I really need to get a hats off to the M team. I tell you, I've learned a lot, but I have a lot more to learn. And these guys I can ask crazy questions and they don't even laugh at me, right, Tim? Or Director Schmidt, excuse me. So I just really enjoy serving the township and look forward to serving many more years if I can. Thank you.
I would take this moment to offer a thank you to all of our volunteers and on our boards and commissions and other activities in the township. We come to item 5 on our agenda, citizens address agenda items and non-agenda items. Don't see any green cards, but now is certainly one of the times that anyone in the audience has an opportunity to speak to the board about agenda or non-agenda items. Is there anyone? Seeing none, then we'll move on to board member reports of activities and announcements. I'm sorry, I skipped number 6, the township manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and the board. It's good to see all of you tonight. One other thing about the volunteer appreciation and the 2 honorees tonight, there is a plaque that's been in the foyer now for the past several years. It has the names of the honorees from the past, and Mr. Sarver and Ms. Vancouvering's name will now be added to that plaque. And I know I believe, Supervisor Jackson, your name is also on the plaque from several years ago.
Yes.
With your service on the Planning Commission prior to being on the board.
And you might be interested to know that I got mine in the new fire station.
Oh.
So today makes the...
Wonderful. Just
nice memory.
A few things to update you on. You may recall when back in 2019, the police department led by Chief Plaga, our department was the first township police department in Michigan to be accredited through and I never get the name right, but I believe it's the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement. Close, okay. And they're back. It's an every 3-year program, and so we're going through that recertification, reaccreditation right now. And they will be here, they've been here once, partial team. The full team will be here on December 8th and 9th to go through the reaccreditation process. It's a rigorous process, but our department's up for it. The solar project, again, over here in the public safety building is just about complete now. Stop over and take a look. That's our 4th solar project. The one out here at the corner, the one at the marketplace, the one on the South Fire Station, the service center, and now over here. The library roof is going to be completed this week. In fact, during our Rotary meeting today, one of the friends of the library spoke up and said it's going to be nice to be in a building now where we don't have to worry about any leaks. 5 years ago, some of you were on the board at that time, in 2017, made great plans to purchased our outdated 21-year-old ladder truck. And we had a dream 5 years ago, and we said we were going to put aside $250,000 a year over the next 4 years, and we'd pay cash for a ladder truck. That's the promise we made to the community. Well, we did that. We saved our $1 million from the bond for the proposal of the millage back in 2017, and today, just in the last few hours, the new ladder truck has arrived from Florida. So we're very pleased to do that, and what's most important, keeping that promise to our residents. When we say we're going to do something, that's entirely what we do. The deer management program has been underway since October 1st, archery until the end of the year. Then it turns to firearm on January 1st. And the work of Director Mason and her team, we've taken 75 deer so far. Just recently, the fire department and the police department had their special Halloween events. And I believe Trustee Hendrickson was present on Saturday for the police department. Long lines to get in, but well worth the wait. Over 1,000 kids and adults were served between those two events. So lots of good things going on in the township, and that's my report unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thank you very much.
And we'll move on to item 7, board member reports of activities and announcements. Trustee Sumlin.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I attended the Michigan Municipal League Convention 2022 in Muskegon, October 19th to 21st, and it was just a really wonderful session about inclusiveness and diversity, and we just, it was very, very well attended, and it was just a nice reminder of all of our goals. And thank you.
Thank you. And Treasurer Deschamps.
Thank you very much. Quick report. As you all know, I serve as the board representative on the CATA board, and after 3 years of negotiations with its drivers, mechanics, and utility workers, CATA has finally settled their union agreement, and a new contract is in place as of the board meeting at 4 p.m. yesterday. It's a very good contract for CATA and for the drivers, and they will receive a 17% increase over the course of the 3-year contract. So it's very generous to the drivers, and those drivers are essential to CATA's success. Other news, the ZBA meeting met last week, and again, the meetings are expedited by our new criteria. Thank you again, Director Schmidt, for that. Makes it much easier to review these criteria. And lastly, last Thursday, I was part of the Ingham County MTA group, and we got a tour of the new Ingham County Jail by Sheriff Wigglesworth. It is a very impressive facility. It'll also be the new 55th District Court, replacing that as well. Hopefully we can get the sheriff up here to do the presentation for us or invite us to the opening. They're expecting it to be sometime in the first quarter of 2023. It's a facility not so much focused on locking up as it is on rehabilitation and allowing for corrections. There's a lot of great new additions to that facility. The old facility was actually 2 different buildings, one built in the 60s, one built in the 80s, and the voters approved a new jail, and we have a county jail that represents the county very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other board members? Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Supervisor Jackson. Last week I participated in a voter registration with Drive with CATA. They put that on. And while we were doing that, it was a very slow day. But I had asked them if they could provide information about CATA bus services for on Election Day. And they sent a list of all of the locations where people can get on the CATA bus and get to their polling location, in addition to ready ride information. And so CATA bus service is free on Election Day, and if somebody needs to set up a ride in advance, they can contact CATA, or if they need the regular route information, they can get on the bus that way and get to their polling location. And the communications team has put all of that information on the township website. So I really appreciate them, CATA sharing it and the communications team putting it out there. And then, of course, Election Day Tuesday is Election Day, November 8th. If you have an absentee ballot and you haven't returned it yet, please return it before Tuesday if you could. That would be fantastic, so we're not rushing at the end to try to receive all of the absentee ballots. So we've received around 64% of the absentee ballots back that have been issued. So if you know anyone, get the word out. Let them know that they need to turn their ballot back in. We're open this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, so voters can come in and they can vote an absentee ballot. We're open from 9 to 5 on Saturday and 9 to 5 on Sunday. That's it.
Anyone else? Trustee Hendrickson.
Supervisor. I just wanted to take a moment. We, on the 22nd, we met for our board retreat. And I want to thank Treasurer DeShane for organizing that, and our facilitator, as well as Chief Hamill for hosting us at the Central Fire Station. I think there was a lot of interesting material discussed, a lot to think about, especially as it relates to our long-term goals. I know I got a lot out of it, so thank you for putting that together. And then, as the manager alluded, I was here for the Halloween event at the Public Safety Building, which was exciting for me as well, because I've never actually toured the inside of the first floor, so got to see a little bit more of the police station than I had seen before. A great program for little ones, and also, we were thankful for the Historical Commission for engaging the kids with trick-or-treating over at the Historical Village as well. And so a lot of great programs, here in the township, this being, 2 of them. But thank you to Chief Plaga and his team for putting that on. That was a real treat for the kids.
Other board members? Thank you. We move now to item 8, which is approval of our agenda. Trustee Sunderland.
I move to approve the agenda as written. Support. Support.
Support. Trustee Wazinski. No comments, corrections? Then the motion is to approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Then the agenda is approved unanimously. I'm sorry, the chair votes yes as well. Item 9 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes typical communications, minutes from the October 18, 2022 regular meeting, the what I call the manager's bills, the 2023 board meeting schedule, which I believe has been corrected due to an oversight noted by Trustee Hendrickson. Item E on the consent agenda is a resolution to authorize a grant agreement between the township and the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund Grant Program. Item F is the disposal of miscellaneous equipment, and item G is the placement of delinquent items on the winter tax roll for 2022. Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move the consent agenda as presented with the exception of the substitute resolution that's at our places for item 9D, which is the updated schedule for the 2023 meeting.
Oh, okay.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the consent agenda. Is there further discussion? We need a roll call vote for the consent agenda.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sumlin?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
And Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. We have no questions for the attorney on our agenda. We have no hearings scheduled for tonight, and so we move to item 12, which are our action items. 12A has to do with the Village of Okemos Brownfield Plan, which we've seen many times before. Mr. Schmidt will lead our discussion.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. So, the request in front of you this evening is the same one that we held a public hearing on October 18th. Received no comment. At that time, we've also received no further comment from any member of the public or any member of the taxing agency subject to capture under this plan. Just to reiterate, the plan represents approximately $92 million in total capital investment. The tax increment revenue created is just over $8 million. 73% of that over those 19 years is from state capture. So the vast majority of the capture from this is state capture dollars. 6.9 million of those dollars are eligible for reimbursement to the developer if they spend those dollars. If they do not spend 6.9 million and they only spend 6.4, that's all they get reimbursed for. The remaining funds come to both the locals for administration, the local Brownfield revolving fund, and the state revolving loan fund. Both staff and our consultant, Jay Van Haren of Tri-Terra, have reviewed the plan. It does meet the technical requirements of PA 381, which is the state level act that allows for brownfield redevelopment financing. It also does appear to meet all the standards of our local policies and procedures. The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority has recommended approval of the plan in its current format. We have provided you with a resolution this evening that outlines some options for public purpose consistent with some of the language we provided with the Hazlet Village Square project, which again, redevelopment in one of our PICAs, addressing some historic contamination and increasing that development activity in those PICA areas. So this is the first step of this piece. If approved by the board, this does then need to go to the state, and we will need to introduce it to the state because the majority of the capture is from the state. So this is a relatively straightforward step. As I mentioned last time, the brownfield is generally the easy piece on the financing part, and this is no different. So staff would recommend approval of this. We'd be happy to answer any questions, and I know the developer is here this evening as well for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer DeShane.
To begin this discussion, I'll introduce the motion. I move to adopt the resolution approving the Village of Okemos Brownfield Plan for the properties on the north and south sides of Hamilton Road between Okemos Road, Methodist Street, Ardmore Avenue, and Clinton Street. The total increment revenue to be captured not to exceed $8,199,635, of which $6,962,627 is the maximum to the developer over a 19-year capture period.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Hendrickson. Mr. DeShane.
Brownfields, because they are primarily capturing state revenue rather than local tax revenue, are very attractive in this case. If you recall, with our TIF financing for the Village of Okemos, we had to work with virtually all of our local partners to get their sign off on that. The brownfield doesn't require that. This project has faced many obstacles, and I applaud the developer for coming back with a revised brownfield plan. It's another way to make this move forward. I know you were recently let down because of the state grant that you were hoping for. I'm glad to hear you're moving this forward and the project continues to move forward.
And Mr. Hendrickson?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'll be supporting this brownfield plan this evening. I think that the public purpose of this plan to me is quite clear. There's contamination that must be remediated, must be continued to be remediated. That alone serves enough public purpose, I think, to move forward. Not to mention the economic development in the area that has remained stagnant for several years now. I think this is an incredibly important area to develop. I think that's why we have outlined it in our master plan as one of our key areas to see intensive change. And so I think that the public purpose of this, to me, is a no-brainer, and we should approve this evening.
Okay. Trustee Wilson?
I will also be supporting this motion because I concur with the prior comments on suiting the public purpose. I wish I had $1 for every time I've been asked, what's happening with the village of Okemos? So it's time to move forward, and I'm glad the developer has continued down the path, so thank you.
Okay. Other comments? Trustee Wazinski?
I too will be supporting, and I also want to thank the developer for contending through this process. It's exceptionally important for our community, and I agree, if I got $1 as well, we could pay for the redevelopment. But, so thank you, and I'm in support.
Okay. Others? Do you have any questions or clarifications you'd like from Mr. Schmidt while we're here? Okay, then I believe we are ready for a roll call vote in support of the resolution approving the Village of Okemos Brownfield Plan for the said properties, the said amount of funds over a 19-year capture period.
Clerk Guthrie. Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
And Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Success at last.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12B is the credit card policy and elimination of petty cash. We will hear from Finance Director Garber.
Thank you. So tonight we're bringing back the credit card policy and the elimination of the petty cash. There was one change made since the board last discussed this in the October 18th meeting, and that was to add one additional authorized employee, the township engineer and deputy director of public works. And just to go over kind of a summary of some of the changes this policy is hoping to accomplish. We're hoping to get some more consistency and guidance surrounding the township credit cards and petty cash funds. These changes are seeking to reduce the number of authorized employees, reduce the total combined authorized credit limit, reduction number of purchases, reduction in the amount of time between a purchase and when the receipt has to be provided to the township. In addition to providing the detailed receipt, a brief description of the official business reason for the purchase, the establishment of quarterly internal audits regarding credit card purchases, and then the elimination of the petty cash funds. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Board members. Trustee Wilson.
I move to approve the Meridian Township credit card policy and best practices guidance.
Support.
Supported by Treasurer DeShane. Trustee Wilson.
This is just sound financial planning to restrict access to cash and to credit cards. So I'm glad to see this policy coming forward, and thank you for doing that work.
Okay. And Mr. DeShane.
Yes, elimination of petty cash is going to be a great help to my staff, who has to count it twice a day. And in the days of, since we have credit cards and we have other online ways of making purchases, the need for petty cash has really gone away. And so this is really bringing up to date our credit card and petty cash policy, or we could say no more petty cash policy. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Okay. Other Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I just have one question. Does this begin right away? How is this implemented? Is there like a rollout period or something?
Yeah, so as soon as we receive approval from the board, we will start to reach out to employees who have credit cards right now who are no longer authorized and start to collect those.
Okay.
And slowly, kind of over the next couple weeks, make sure we're communicating with everybody about the new procedures and the policy and all that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I would just note that apparently this is a policy update that has been recommended to us for some time through our audit advisors, etc. And so we are finally getting around to accomplishing that, and we thank you for all the work that you've put into that. Clerk Guthrie, a roll call vote, please.
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
And Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Director Garber. Item 12C is ordinance 2022-14, RR District Deletion, introduction from Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam
Director of
Supervisor.
Planning.
And I would be remiss, and I think I insinuated this at the last meeting, but I want to make it clear. These two ordinances are tie-barred. We can't approve one without the other. It will cause chaos if we do. So all this ordinance does is follows up on a goal of the master plan to streamline our ordinances, and this would eliminate the RRA, one family suburban estate residential district. There are currently 7 properties that are zoned that way. None of them will be adversely impacted by this. In fact, the majority of them will be brought further into compliance with our ordinances. And so that's what is under the following item is the rezoning. This is just the deletion of those 3 letters everywhere they show up in the ordinance. So the request this evening is to formally introduce this. We will then publish it, and we will bring it back at your next meeting for final action.
All right, thank you. Trustee Wazinski.
I'll start with the motion. Move to adopt the resolution approving for introduction zoning amendment 2022-14 to amend the zoning ordinance of the Charter Township of Meridian at multiple sections to delete the RRA one family suburban estate residential district from the zoning ordinance.
Support. Supported by Trustee Wilson. Trustee Wazinski.
I just thank Director Schmidt for taking a look at this and recognizing that we had, I think you said, more zoning districts than most other municipalities. So I thank you for that. It just seems like it makes sense. And we only have 7 properties in the township, and we'll make that work. So thank you.
And Trustee Wilson.
Echoing the same sentiment and the fact that we have 7 properties we can bring into conformance into the correct zone, and we're not sure where those suburban estates are anywhere. So it's time to do this.
Other comments? Questions? Then Clerk Guthrie would like a roll call vote on this issue.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Now, item 12D is the other half of this action where we have ordinance 2022-18 where the RRA properties are rezoned. Mr. Schmidt will introduce that action.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. This would take those 7 properties that are currently zoned RRA and rezone them to RA. One-family medium density residential. 5 of the 7 properties would be brought into size conformance with the ordinance. 2 of them we believe would be fully in conformance with the ordinance going forward. Senior Planner Shorkey actually made personal contact with each of the owners, explained the situation to them. They were all happy that we were taking this action. They are found in 2 locations in the township. There are 6 of them are just north of the Winslow Trailer Park on Van Natter Road, and one of them just is a random property on Ethel Street that is zoned RRA currently. We would ask that this be introduced this evening. We will then publish it and then bring it back at a future meeting for final action.
Okay. Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move to approve the resolution adopt the resolution approving for introduction ordinance 2022-18 and ordinance to rezone the following 7 parcels from RRA one-family suburban estate residential district to RA one-family medium density residential. Number 1, 1250 Ethel Street, parcel ID number 33020223377011. Number 2, 4544 Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377004. Number 3, 4536 Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377005. Number 4, 4558 Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377012. Number 5, 4552 Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377013. Number 6, 4564 Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377017. And number 7, unaddressed Van Natter Road, parcel ID number 33020224377018.
Is there support?
Support.
Trustee Wilson supports. Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I appreciate this proactive approach to rezoning these parcels and also the deletion prior. I was going to address both of them really, but it helps to have a streamlined set of ordinances so that folks, when they're looking to move in, have less municipal gobbledygook to sort through. And so I'm pleased with the steps that are being taken. As Director Schmidt pointed out, this does not bring all 7 parcels into compliance. Brings 2 parcels into compliance and 5 into closer to compliance, which is laudable. I would ask, as we make our agendas for the next meeting, when we are looking to approve, that this rezoning be on our agenda first before the deletion, so that we don't have 5 minutes where they are zoned on parcels that don't have a zoning category anymore, just in case. So I appreciate the work that the staff has done to prepare these, especially the personal contact with the owners of the parcels, so that they understand that we are here to help, not to adversely affect them in any way.
Thank you. Trustee Wilson.
I concur with the rationale that Trustee Hendrickson has brought forward. Also the fact that all parcel owners have been fully apprised and are in favor of this is why I would move to approve this. Introduction.
Other comments? Questions? Then the motion is to adopt the resolution approving introduction of the ordinance 2022-18 to rezone 7 properties from RRA to RA. We need a roll call vote. Clerk Guthrie?
Trustee Sumlin?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
And Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 12E is disbursement of the 2023 healthcare health savings account. Manager Walsh will introduce this issue
Thank you.
to us.
If I might, if it's okay, before I get into that subject, because we have 4 meetings over the next 6 weeks, a lot of different, would you mind if I update the board and the public about what we expect at each meeting, kind of the outline of each meeting, because we have a lot coming up.
Okay.
So on the 15th, it's a board and commission night. We don't want, according to the supervisor, we don't plan to have an agenda that evening as far as action by the board or discussion. It's going to be an update, PowerPoint update to our board and commission members and the community about 2022, what was accomplished, a little look ahead. It's more, usually we do this in February, because of COVID, everything's changed. We're off kilter a little bit. Usually we go over our goals for the next year. We aren't going to be able to do that on the 22nd because the board hasn't set those, or on the 15th, the board hasn't set those goals. So on the 15th, it'll be board and commission evening, a night where we get to hear from what's going on with all the different boards and commissions. That's on the 15th. And then fast forward to the 29th, and that evening, the board will discuss, we'll hear a review of 2022, talk about what's planned for 2023, see a whole menu of ARP options, which are being put together by the staff. There could be 10 or 15 of those. You'll have that information about a week ahead of time, we hope. That you can have all that information, kind of an outline of goals. The staff will do like we've done every year. We'll present a draft list of goals for the board as a starting point, so it won't be a blank piece of paper. We'll present that to you, and then you'll have many options for ARP funding. There's about $2 million available, and you'll go over those that night. And there'll be a closed session for another issue that evening. That's on the 29th. And then on the 6th, we come back and we take up a lot of the items, like for instance, the ordinance issues tonight. Those will come up on December 6th, but also under discussion that evening will be the ARP funding, setting goals, will also be on the agenda on the 6th. And then finally, the last meeting of the year, the next Tuesday on the 13th, is finalizing your goals for 2023 and finalizing your ARP funding going forward. So there's discussions, there's action, and there's a lot going on here in the next 6 weeks. But December 13th, we'll wrap up the year for, unless something comes up for the board. That's kind of the outline of where we're going forward. And of course, all that's under the direction of the agenda is under the direction of the supervisor. And we'll fill you in if there's any changes that occur in the plan. Getting back to the agenda item, 11 years ago, I believe it was 2011, Public Act 152, I believe that was during the Snyder administration, came up with Public Act 152, and that is a hard cap that says that, boiling it down, what does it say? That local governments can only spend so much for health care. That's called a hard cap. That number, this year for Meridian Township, that the number is $1,835,000 and change, $1,835,000. That's what we can spend according to the state of Michigan, and that's based on employees and the types of, are they single, two-family, or two-person and family. Leave it at that. 1.835 is all we can spend. The cost for our health care this year is $1,613,000. That's the cost for health care. That's through Blue Cross only. In addition to that, we have the cost of dental, vision, retiree health care, and the reimbursement for the $4,500 to our team members who do not take health care. If you do not take health care, you have to sign off that you have it somewhere else, and then we reimburse you $4,500 for the year, which is obviously a really good deal for the township because I think our family plan is like 17 or 18,000. So 1.613 is the cost for Blue Cross. When you add it all up, the total cost for everything healthcare all in is $2,222,000 and change. But some of those costs are not encumbered against the hard cap. The only thing that's encumbered against the hard cap is the Blue Cross number at $1,613,000. So therefore, it's kind of ironic that the difference between the hard cap and our cost is $222,000, and our total cost is $2,222,000. So all twos. So the question before you today, and you need to know that you're not required by union contracts, you're not required at all to provide the HSA because we're already paying 100% of the premium. So we're paying 100% of the premium in that $2,222,000 for all the team members. We take all the cost, and then what the township has done in the past is take what's left over and provide it at sometimes 100%, and I'll explain why the motion is before you the way it is tonight. So one other component to this is, and I know two of you have not gone through this with us at all, so I'm trying to give you every step by step so you have it. So every year in the past, well, I can speak to the 10th year. So for the first 8 years here, I've seen the board provide the HSA in the full amount to the team. Last year, the board made a decision that changed the way we disperse the HSA. Prior to last year, you received half of your HSA in January and half of it in July. Worked out well. The board decided that we're going to pay it all in January. So that's what we did this year. We paid it all in January. The challenge with that is that, like for instance, we already know there's an employee leaving in January, retiring in the middle of the month, one leaving in February. We already know that. There'll be plenty of others. So that person who works in 2 weeks into 2023 is going to get the full $2,200. And that would be the family HSA. And then we replace somebody, and they get a prorated amount right away, and that might be $2,000 or $2,100. They get a prorated amount of the HSA. So if the board determines, and there's 3 options before you. One is we're not required to do an HSA. Instead of paying the full $2,222,000, we could take this HSA and reduce what we have to pay in healthcare overall. That's one option. The second option is to provide the full amount, $222,000, provide it all, and we'll eat all the cost of this additional second tier cost of people coming in and out the door. We estimate it's probably going to be a minimum of $30,000 to $35,000. So the third option is to accept the motion that's in front of you, and that is to set aside $22,000 of the $222,000, set aside that to help offset the cost of the movement of employees back and forth, and help offset the cost of that when we're paying twice for the same health care for the year for someone that leaves and we have to replace. If you accept the option 3 that's before you of the $200,000 provided to the team and the $22,000 held back, the motion that's in front of you, if you take that option, which is option 3, the HSA payments would be roughly $700 for a single, $1,700 for a 2-person, and $2,200, there's the 2s again, for the family plan. So $700, $1,700, and $2,200. The deductible for a family this year is $3,000. So we would pay all of the premium plus $2,200 of the $3,000 premium. So there's 3 options before you tonight. I've really tried to break it down into exactly what this hard cap is all about and all the numbers. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Treasurer DeShane.
Just to be clear, Manager Walsh, so with the action the board took last year by paying it all in January rather than the way we've done it before, twice a year, that costs an additional $20,000 due to, is that your figure?
It could. It could. It's completely throwing a dart at the wall because it has to do with turnover of employees. With our budget, I'm not concerned at all about the way that the board changed it last year and providing it all up front has been a tremendous benefit to the team. And I would not, I'm not standing up here advocating that we change the time period at all. We can eat the additional cost. It's if you give it all away, that's when it becomes a $35,000 or $40,000 cost. Right now, we're holding 22 back. The proposal before you tonight is to hold 22 back. That could cover 70% of it. We just don't know. We don't know who decides to leave during the year.
I did the math on the 22, though. If that same amount of money was put into the HSA, that would be about $130, $140 per person that we're reducing their HSA by because we're having to hold money back, expecting we're going to have people that are going to opt, that are going to, if you will, require us to double pay. Your proposal before us is to hold back the 22,325 in anticipation of a fair number of double payments. Is that correct?
That's correct. And to take the $200,000 and reimburse it, this is the same thing we did last year. This is the same principle and model that we did last year. We held some back last year. I don't know the exact number. It was right around the same, I think it was 20 to 30,000 we held back last year. And because of the change in January and February, doing it all in January, the board last year did hold some of the amount under the hard cap was held back last year, just like we're suggesting this year.
If you take the 22,325 and you divide that by 165 employees, you come up with, oops, let me try that again.
You wouldn't want to divide it by 165 because they don't all take health care. It'd be just the number of people who take health care.
And about what is that number?
Right now, I'd say probably 120.
Okay.
And then you'd have to break it down into singles and two persons and families because they all get a different HSA.
So I guess what I'm trying to point out is that by making this one-time payment, we are in essence reducing the overall payment to make up for the double payment we expect to have to pay with the $22,000 holdback. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But then you'd have to offset that with, that's a little bit of a loss but then the team member would counter with, yeah, but I'm getting it all up front rather than having to wait 6 months. So it's a pretty good deal for me too. We don't get complaints on our HSA program.
Nor should we.
No, the township's been very good to the team.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'm curious, I thank you for the historical understanding of this. The expected healthcare cost in 2023 is $1.613 million, is that right?
That's the Blue Cross.
The Blue Cross portion of it?
That's right.
Okay, so that is 2023, okay.
Yeah, and that's the number you use to compare to the hard cap number.
Yes, okay. So I guess philosophically, what is the benefit to providing an HSA payment in a lump sum rather than on an amortized, per pay period basis over the course of the year, right? Because we could avoid this problem entirely if we paid it out on every pay period, or not entirely, but we would significantly reduce the possibility of double payments with a per pay period approach.
Yeah. What happened is we had a number of employees come to us. We have listening sessions, and we actually listen. And we try to take in what people are saying. We had a number of people who talked about, without getting into detail, their family situations and how they have an enormous cost in the first 3 or 4 months of the year. And so this was one of the suggestions that was made by several people in the listening sessions. If we're going to give us $2,200, which we very much appreciate. If you're going to give us $2,200, it would really benefit us if we received it in January. And so I look at it as a benefit to our team, and one that I did not support it. In fact, if you want to go back in history, I did not support it when I brought it to the board, but I felt a responsibility to bring it to the board. And the board was unanimous in their decision to do this. And this was I'm going back just 1 year now. But since then, I've heard so many positive comments from it being in January that it's really a cost that has not been a burden on the township. But I do understand your point. I'm just trying to give you the history of how it all came out. It came out from listening sessions.
Thank you.
Trustee Wilson.
I think it's just a fact of life in healthcare today that you have all new, the clock turns over on January 1st, and you have all new deductibles and co-pays. So the burden on the family becomes very high in that first quarter generally. So it makes sense to me that the entire allotment is made in January.
That was the board's voice last year, if I may.
Trustee Wojcicki.
Just a quick question for the manager, and I think I may have asked this before, so I apologize. Is there an opportunity to do a reimbursement? So you have $2,200 in a pot, and you go to the doctor till you hit your deductible, and you reimburse per occurrence. Is that a possibility with the HSA?
I'm not following. I'm sorry. I'm not
That's
following
okay.
your question.
Nope. So, for example, I have an account that you put a certain amount of money into. That's held until I use an eligible expenditure. Once I do that, I can then go to that company, send the receipt in and get reimbursed at that time. So you're not having the burden of the cost for very long. So I didn't know if that was a possibility here or if that's not even.
Yeah, for our two-person HR office that handles benefits, probably not. But I've seen that happen in the past. That's the way we had it in a community that I worked at previously. But for here, for this purposes, the let's just say for the family plan, the $2,200 that's before you, we have a number of people who stay healthy and don't use the $2,200, and to their benefit, it carries over. So they're able to carry that over in their HSA account from year to year.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'm trying to understand from this motion how things will be changed for employees. What changes for employees? I'm sorry if I'm missing that.
No, nothing. This is exactly how it was done last year, but I know we have two new members, and I wanted to give the history of what happened and other options, because there are communities who do not provide the the amount under the hard cap and above the Blue Cross healthcare provider number. There's communities who don't reimburse the HSA. They keep it and say, hey, we're paying $2.2 million. We're going to use that. We're going to give you full premium health care, but we're not going to help you on the deductible. So I just want the board to know there's three options. It's just not here's what I think you should do and do it. But to answer your question directly, there's nothing changing. The only thing that's changed are the numbers that Blue Cross provides. This is the cost this year. But actually, the HSAs that are for you, we didn't even think we were going to have an HSA this year. We thought our number was going to go beyond the hard cap, which then requires employees to start paying for their premium. It's required by the state. But we've been so fortunate here to have this. I mean, we're paying, if this gets approved tonight, we're paying all of your premium, and we're paying 60 or 70% of your deductible, and we're giving it all to you at once.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, this $200,000 in healthcare savings being passed on to the team is $200,000 that's going into HSA, into individual HSA team member accounts.
Right.
That's how I'm reading it, in a one lump sum in the beginning of the year.
That's right. It's exactly the way it is right now. The only thing that fluctuates year to year is the number, because it's the HSA, it's the hard cap minus the cost is your number divided, and it changes too, because how many people taking family and two-person and single is different today than it was a year ago, because the employee count changes. We have more people taking our health care today than we did a year ago, which is amazing that the HSA is still at the amount that it is, because more people are taking the health care. But yes, it's $200,000 that will be divided up about all the people taking health care, then the other people who don't get $4,500 a year. And so if you're a family plan, you will get $2,200 in change, and you will get that on January 1st. It's exactly how we did it in 2022 after the board changed it they modified it last year. It was the first year of the modification.
Are these numbers the same as what they currently are for next year, this single amount, this two-person amount, and this family amount, or have these numbers changed, and if so, how?
No, they would change every year, because it's based on the number of people receiving health care, it's based on how much Blue Cross charges us, and it's based on how much the hard cap is. So they change every year. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they're very close to last year's. They're probably within $100 of last year.
So it's based on a formula, it's not based on this is what the township can do or not. It's based on an actual health formula. Okay.
Yeah, it's the hard cap, which the state says, minus Blue Cross's number, and that difference, it's 1.835 minus 1.613 equals $222,000. What are you going to do with it? And the suggestion tonight is to hold the 22 back to pay for the in and out, and the 200,000 to burst to the employees, and those amount $700 for a single, 1,700 for a two-person, and 2,200 for a family. The numbers are very close to last year. The only thing that's changing tonight are the numbers because of the model.
And I have one final question, I'm sorry. The 4,500 opt-out clause, do you know if other communities offer that opt-out clause? Is that mandated by the state? How did the township just out of curiosity, how did the township come up with that?
Yeah, it's not mandated at all. We don't have to do it at all. And typically, communities offer that when they have an HSA payment. So let me tell you what will happen. If you don't do that, if you don't offer something for employees, like for instance, let's use the city of Marshall. You have to pay 20% of your premium there. So you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 right off the top, right? Well, you don't really have to, there's less incentive for the Marshall City Council or a city council to offer what we offer here. Why? Because if I'm an employee whose spouse or my partner has health care somewhere else, I'm not just going to sign up for, I'm not going to, even though they don't offer me anything else, I'm not going to sign up for health care because I got to pay 20% of something I don't need. Okay? Here in Meridian Township, if we don't offer the $4,500 and your spouse or partner has health care and you're covered, you're still going to say, I'm going to take health care. I'm going to make them pay $17,000 for my family plan. You know why? It doesn't cost me anything, and I get an HSA of $2,200. So I'm going to receive money by taking health care I don't need. Sorry for the long answer, but that's the reason communities offer the reimbursement. To answer your question, ours is higher than the state average. The average in the state is between $3,000 and $3,500. We're a little north of that. Sorry for the long answer, but
no, I appreciate
that's why you do it.
Thank you.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Just a couple of follow-up questions. So I'll just say from the beginning that I don't think this is a bad idea to go with door number 3 as you've presented. I'd like to just put two things in the manager's mind as he's moving forward for next year. And the first is, this program feels inherently disadvantageous to those employees who opt out of healthcare, because the employees that opt in are getting the boon from this payment, and those who opt out are not. Is that an accurate statement?
It's accurate, except for if I don't need the health care, I'm making a conscientious decision whether I sign up and I get $700 or $1,700 or $2,200. I don't need it, but I'll sign up and take that. Or I could take door number 1, which is $4,500. So it's much more advantageous for that. They know their own finances, and so they're getting twice as much as the person for the HSA. So that's the decision that people make.
Okay. Okay. And then that's interesting. I hadn't considered it that way. I've got something else to, I think, talk to you maybe offline about the upcoming listening sessions. It's eluding me at the moment, so I will I'll catch up to you after the meeting and,
Sure.
and chat with you about that.
That'd be great.
Trustee Brzezinski.
I am in support of this. I thank you for bringing it back. I'm happy to hear it went well and that the staff and the members felt that it helped better. So did you say that in the beginning, that you've heard from staff that they like this plan?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, our health care is, our health care plan that we provide, the whole picture, is better than most municipal employees in the entire state. We offer a full premium, and then we give you 60 or 70% of your deductible, which some don't even use. And now we've gone even one step further, and that was last year when the board decided to provide it all at once. Yeah, it's a real benefit. Now, a lot of people don't comment on it because they don't use their whole HSA, but for those employees who have more medical family needs, and those people talk to us. They talk to Director Tehoff, they talk to myself, they talk to Ms. Hassey. They really appreciate it being up front. It's much, put it this way, I was wrong last year. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. The in and out bothered me about the cost that we would have, but it's been much more appreciated by the team than I thought it would be.
Great. I also just like to comment that these are really good benefits based on my experience with the multiple companies. So I don't know who's opting out and where they're working, but it is that these are really great benefits. So I'm glad we can do this.
Treasurer DeShane.
I would reiterate that my wife is a teacher. Many people stay in teaching with low wages just because of the health benefits. We gave up a teacher's health benefit package for the township package. It was that much better. This number of 1.6 million, our Blue Cross number, is that based on a rating that is based on the claims made by employees, or are we in a larger pool where it doesn't really reflect our individual claims? Do you know that answer?
I do. We're self-insured, and we decided to go self-insured maybe 8 years ago. And it was a big decision by the board to do it at that time, maybe 7 years ago. And it's worked out extremely well for us. We have a stop loss of, I think it's around 30 or 35,000. But being self-insured, our rates are the rates are based on our claims. And the claims, number of people, all that sort of thing, that's how they determine what we pay per year. And we expected more of a jump this year than what we received.
Well, my comment would be that the board owes you and the whole M team a good deal of gratitude for that number being down, because when employee morale is down, you see higher healthcare costs, higher mental health costs, more sick days. more illness caused by workplace stress. And the fact that our numbers stayed down, I think is reflected by the environment that we have here for our employees with our 7.5-hour workday, casual clothing, and our events that we do for our employees, and the overall appreciation I think the M team and you expressed to the work being done by 165 employees. And I think one way to look at hard evidence that it's working for the way you're doing it now is the fact that our number was down. It didn't go up like many others might have in this year of COVID and other mental health challenges. The fact our number stayed low reflects on the positive positive environment that we have here. So I would say thank you for that, creating an environment that allows our employees to work here in a healthy fashion, that their healthcare costs have not gone up despite an environment that would largely cause that to happen.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the best decisions the township made was hiring Director Tehoff. She does a great job. She helps lead all of our initiatives for employee morale, and that's why we have approximately 6 vacancies out of 160. I mean, we are, there was a time during COVID when we had 15 vacancies, largely with the police department having 7 or 8 of those, but you know, we're getting back to almost fully staffed now. And yeah, we try our best. I mean, we do little things like, hey, it's Halloween. You know, if need to leave a little early today, leave early, get home, take care of your kids tonight. Those are the kind of things and the type of organization that we're trying to build here. And it takes a step every day that we try to do that. But we have a great team, and very, very proud of them.
Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. So if I understand the motion is to authorize a one-time payment in the beginning of the year for the single, 2-person, and family amounts. Is that correct for 2023? Is that, or are you just looking for direction from the? Or are you looking for a motion?
Yeah, it would be helpful. The reason we put this on for action is it'd be very helpful because there's a lot of work we need to do after the board determines how the HSA, if there's an HSA. Remember, we're not required to do one by contracts or by law. If you do one and you do select it to do it in the same format you did it last year, it'd be helpful to know tonight because there'd be no action on the 15th. We wouldn't know until December. And that doesn't give us enough time to set up the whole procedure because if you think about it, if it's not approved till December, the payments go out in January, and there's just a very small window for our office to commit. Everything is the proposal before you tonight is exactly, minus the different number, is exactly what you did last year.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion to move to authorize $200,000 in healthcare savings be passed on to the team in the form of health savings account allocations for the 2023 calendar year.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Luzinski.
You need to go take a COVID test.
Let's go to Clerk Guthrie first, and then Trustee Luzinski, and then we'll be back to you.
Well, I understand. Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I understand the benefits to the employees, and having been an employee for a number of years, understand the benefits of having a one lump sum in the beginning of the calendar year versus having 2 separate payments. Without divulging into my own personal family and all of our healthcare needs and that, having to have 2 payments and trying to meet that can be very difficult for a family. And so I appreciated the board last year making that proposal to do a one lump sum in the beginning of the year, and I look forward to doing that again in 2023.
Okay. And Trustee Luzinski.
I would concur. I think it makes sense. The employees are happy. And I agree that we do kind of wait till the beginning of the year to take care of family needs, and it makes sense that they have it up front. So.
Okay. Trustee Hendricks.
Thank you. I'll be supportive of the motion as it's been presented. I did remember my questions, so I thought I would just let you have it so you can stew on it for a minute, which is, what would happen if we had hit our hard cap?
That's a simple answer. If the hard cap is $1,835,000, and let's say our cost was $1,837,000, it's $2,000 beyond the hard cap. We would have to go back, and all the employees that take health care, there'd be no HSA, and they'd have to pay a $50 a year or something for their health care plan, because it's unequivocal. If the hard cap goes beyond, or the premium goes beyond the hard cap, those costs must be passed on. You can't make the board can't make a motion, we're going to pay for that ourselves.
Sure.
It has to be done. And then there'd be no HSA, unless, of course, the board decided that they were going to do an HSA out of reserves or something.
Sure. So if the employees were to cover a portion of their health care expenses, that would not be counted toward the hard cap. It's only the employer expenses. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. So comes around to my question that might be worthwhile asking in a listening session, because I'm from a healthcare and personal financial capacity, I'm a rather conservative thinker, and I prefer stability over variability. And so my question that you might think about posing at the next listening session is, would you be willing to accept a small portion of your healthcare premium to come out of your paycheck in exchange for a guaranteed HSA contribution from the township? Right? If we were to say, 10% or whatever, just as a hypothetical, 5% of your premium, we could guarantee that, you have $1,800 or whatever the dollar amount. I just wonder if there's a population of employees who would be more interested in the stability that would provide, because it is possible that one day we get to a point where we do hit the hard cap and we would have to, either dip into our fund balance or to go to other lengths to try to provide this benefit that you've acknowledged as appreciated by all. And I have an HSA, through my wife's healthcare. I understand how important that is. And we get an employer contribution. That's a very big benefit to us. And so I'd be interested just to find out from the employees, is there a desire for that kind of offering?
Interesting question. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Did you say your stopgap is at 35 to 40,000?
Yeah.
So you're very conservative about this?
Yeah.
Because that's when the reinsurance kicks in and your risk goes away.
Right.
So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, unless it's gone up that I'm not aware of. Still, yeah, that's what it is.
Good.
And you're correct.
I have just one minor question to ask. Did you say that the HSA rolls over from year to year?
Yes, if we provide this $2,200 into an account for a family member, and they only use $1,500 a year, then that $1,300 rolls over to the next year.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure, is there anything I said that's not, I'm wrong as much as I'm right, so I want to make sure, is there anything I said that's incorrect tonight about the program? Okay.
She was nodding her head like this the entire time you were talking. I was looking at her.
She's the one who knows it well. Thank you for all the questions.
Okay. So we have a motion before us. If there's no further comment, the motion is to authorize $200,000 in health care savings to be passed on to the team in the form of health savings account allocations for the 2023 calendar year. Clerk Guthrie, this should be a roll call vote.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13 on our agenda is board discussion items, and there are none listed for tonight. Item 14 is comments from the public. Are there? Please. You will give us your name and
I
address.
believe I forgot to thank the board. I'm looking at Manager Walsh. I'm a township junkie, and I'll be the first to admit it. I have a place in northern Michigan, and I spend a lot of time there in the summer, and I don't have internet access. So I have to buy unlimited data on my phone so I don't miss any of your meetings. And Frank said he'd pay the bill for me. But really, I just have so much respect for what you do, because I'm a true believer in that what impacts me most are my local politics. And the work that you guys put in is just incredible. And, someday if I get a life, maybe I would try to run for a board position, but I don't think I'm that crazy. But the other thing too, there are so many good volunteers in the township. We can call them the V team and the M team. And, it's just, I've met so many great people working on that, but truly, I forgot to thank the board, and I really appreciate your work. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Seeing none, we can move on to item 15, other matters and board member comments. Treasurer DeShane.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you, Trustee Henderson, for your comment about the board retreat. It was another successful retreat. I did get the report from Larry with Merrill, the facilitator, his comments and his recapitulation of the event, which I'll pass on to the rest of the board. I do think we need to schedule some time in a future meeting to discuss the outcomes of that and some steps we're going to move forward with if we elect to do that. It looks like the next two meetings are pretty full, though, so we'll have to move it to December, but I do want to make sure that we follow up on that. And we all gave up a beautiful Saturday to be inside and to work on the board, help us to be a better board. So let's talk about putting some of those ideas we had into action. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us of that as well. Anyone else? Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'll be brief. I want to thank our DPW team for putting the feminine products in the women's bathroom. I saw that today, and having worked in this building since 1996, it was a pleasant surprise to see that products that are needed products for females to be available in the restroom. And I was just elated while I was washing my hands and looked over and saw it there. And I can't express what type of feeling it is to be treated equally, to be treated like these are products that we need in our everyday life, and this is available for free for our employees and free for people who come to Meridian Township. And so I thank our DPW team, and I thank our Township Board for approving this and having these products available in our restrooms. I think it's fantastic.
Anyone else? I would just add that in the case of Clerk Guthrie's comments, there are obviously several other people to thank as well. The whole DEI task force structure worked on this issue, helped plan this, the implementation of this issue. I think there's also a contribution from another volunteer from another board or commission, with the DDA or EDC, who helped us implement.
I wouldn't say that there was a donation or a contribution, but what I would say is that the quote that we have two staff members that oversee all of our facilities as well as our cemetery. Technically, we have two cemeteries, actually. One is just not active. So their time is short. So we did solicit quotes for the installation at our facilities that are not parks And we do have a member of the DDA that provided a very generous quote when I broke it down by the unit price. They were not even able to pay for, tools. That was just bare bones staff showing up with the most essential materials. But you could not sustain a business on the quote that we received. So in that sense, it was a very, very generous quote, and there was some contribution there. It was about $8,000 below the other quote that we received.
Thank you. And of course, Director Titoff and Directors Titoff and Massey, who worked with the DEI group, all contributed to the implementation of that policy. The only other thing I would add at this point is I hope if you have not voted already, please vote by the close of the polls on next Tuesday night. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye, and we are adjourned.